So look, Africa, and this passage is wild. The passage is what we read out of the Bible. And the Bible doesn't have anything about Africa. So I'm making a leap. But it's my favorite passage. I've spoken this multiple times, and I feel like I'm supposed to say it again. All right? So this might be multiple times when you're hearing. I love the theme today is who am I? Who am I? And you've traveled the world to maybe try to figure out who you are. Or maybe you've just been to LA and you think that the answer is here. And the answer is here. The answer's here. And you get the answer. I thought I would ask that question in my 20s. Hang on. In my 20s, I would answer that question. Who am I? Who am I? And then I got to my 30s and my 40s and my 50s. Hang on, there's more. And my 60s. And I'm like, who am I? Who am I? But it's the season of who you are. That God says, okay, maybe I need you to be this right now. It doesn't mean you're fake. It just means you're needed. I need you for something right now. So the who am I is connected to what am I supposed to do is connected to this is all a path and this is a journey. And in Malawi, white Americans don't go there to teach. They go there to learn. And we bring our community that's very diverse, and we just sit and we learn. And they taught us this song. And it is about the destination of where we're going today. Robbie.
You are my strong tower. You are my redeemer. Oh, I run to you. Oh, I run to you. You are my strong tower. You are my redeemer. Oh, I run to you. Oh, I run to you. Potawila. Potawila. Potawila panja. Potawila panja. We sing out, you are my strong tower. You are my strong tower. You are my redeemer. Oh, I run to you. Oh, I run to you. You are my strong tower. You are my redeemer. Oh, I run to you. Oh, I run to you. Pobisa la panja, pobisa la panja, pobisa la panja.
Beautiful. No matter what languages that you learn, no matter what language that you express in, it's still a spiritual place. And God says, I want you to come this morning to a very spiritual space and encounter something that is not mine to give you, but it's yours anyway. Can you go there? And this song that they taught us. All the chiefs sang it. Everybody knew it in all the village. They just knew this song because they were desperate when God was their strong tower. They learned the art of running for cover from danger. We have to learn that this morning. The who am I question is connected to 1,000 other questions. And I thank you for making it very clear what the destination is. Thank you guys. Come on. Lift this. I don't do transitions very well. All right, okay, good on everybody over here too. So the destination, we'll just use this staging area right here. This is where we're ending up today. And what is that? It's that place where our souls are trying to get to, and we stop them because we are being informed by too many sources that there's lots of paths. There's lots of paths. And sometimes we miss the right current because we can't get to the destination. And the destination is super spiritual. And that's okay because we admit that we're very super spiritual people, right? I'm going to change things up. I'm going to the very end of the passage first. But first, I want to tell you, it's in a weird book called Ezekiel. Where we're reading from is not something you just open to and find your way. Just to note, Ezekiel was an outlier. He was called a prophet that spoke a message from God to the people, legit. Today, we have a lot of prophets. We don't listen to them, but I'm just telling you. If they own TV, probably go the other direction. But these prophets were great, and Ezekiel was the weirdest of the weird ones. Jeremiah was great, the weeping prophet, and Isaiah. But it comes to Ezekiel, and God told him one time, I know it's going to be weird sounding, take off your underwear and hide it under a rock. And he did. He did. And he said, leave it there. And then you go back. Months later, he went back. He took it out of the rock. He held it up, and God said, these are the sins of the people. And they're hiding them, and they need to get clean because it's destroying our relationship. And he was very, very tactile. Now the story is like this. But in the middle of Ezekiel chapter 47, there is, Ezekiel's like your drunk uncle. He's like that guy. You don't understand, and he staggers a bit. But Ezekiel had a vision. And the vision really was the dream of God. An angel came. It's called the man. And the angel came into this vision, and he's guiding Ezekiel along the way. Now do this. Now do this. God wants to show the people of Israel, because you're going to report on this to the people. You're going to express to them this vision. So follow me. Do exactly what I do. I'm taking you somewhere along this journey. And so he started way back over at the temple where God had built. And now, several chapters before, God had just said this. He said this, I want to live with you in my temple, my feet on the ground near you. I want to dwell among the people. I will live there forever among you. I thought, well, wow, you built a temple, and maybe that wouldn't be my way, but I'll tell you that's God's way of being among his people. And that even though thousands of years before when this all took place, he's saying that, I want you. I want to dwell with you. Not just in a temple made with hands, but I want you to be my temple. We are the temple of God. And he said that I will dwell in you and among you, around you, and I'll walk with you and I'll guide you. And that's the spiritual place. That's the destination. That is the who am I and where am I going place. Because it solves so much of the problems on that end if we would just get here. And he said, you want to know what you're going to see when you get there to the destination? This is what you're going to see. And we skip all the way over in the middle of the vision to this. He said in verse 6, he asked me, son of man, that's Ezekiel, do you see this? And he took Ezekiel to the edge and he showed him something. Do you see this? And for some reason, because the journey was the way it was, Ezekiel could see it finally. And this is the end of the story. He says this, then he led him back to the bank of the river. When I arrived there, that's Ezekiel, I saw a great number of what? Say it louder to know that you're awake. I saw a great number of trees on each side of and he said to me, this water flows toward the eastern region, and it goes down into the Arabah where it enters the Dead Sea. And when it empties into the sea, the salty water there becomes what? They needed the fresh water. They didn't have water at all in the desert. Swarms, do you hear me? Swarms of living creatures will live wherever the river flows. And there will be large numbers of fish because this water flows there and it makes the salt water fresh. So where the river flows, everything will what? Live. That's where we're going. I don't want to be no desert without living. I don't want to be here in LA without living. And wherever the water, the presence of God flows, there is life. Is there life around you? And fishermen will stand along the shore from the En-Gedi to the whatever that is. There will be places for spreading nets. The fish will be of many kinds, like the fish of the Mediterranean. We don't fish. What do we need fish for? We need fish, you vegetarian people. But the swamps and the marshes will not become fresh, but they'll be left salt. This is, get this, ready? Fruit trees of all what? I just check it. Will grow on both banks of and their leaves will not be this withering mess we got going. No, their leaves will be, they won't wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fruit, because the water from the sanctuary flows to them, and their fruit will serve for what? And their leaves for? It's very beautiful, that end of the story. This is where we're going to go. You see, we have gotten accustomed to fake everything. Fake personalities, fake faces, fake food, fake nutrition, fake trees, fake fruit, and we just let people just give us and feed us whatever we want. And God said, that wasn't the way it's supposed to be. We weren't supposed to be so in bed with pharmaceuticals. What? Look, because there were supposed to be trees for healing, leaves for healing. There was supposed to be fruit that bears fruit every month. And we go to Malawi, and it's so desolate, and we're just saying, we're not farmers, but there's a better way than this. And we bring truckloads of food to help them during the hungry months. And they're so grateful. The chief said to us, you didn't let us die this year. I say that to the church because that's what they said to us, right, Pastor Joe? They said, you didn't let us die this year. Because they go months and months with no food. And we gave them food, every family, to survive 1 month. And it's no small thing. Because, we are all surviving in a world that shifted dramatically in the last decade. And we built houses, and the chiefs said to us, the 114 chiefs that gathered, they said, you built us houses. We believe that you would not do what you said, and you did it. And we said, that's odd to us, because that's not our culture. Well, it was my culture. I didn't want to build the houses, but Erwin said we had to do it. And so we went out and raised the money. And so even this week, let me just tell you, even this week, are you listening? Are you looking at me? Even this week, and I didn't tell that other gathering this, but I held it for you. I held out for you. Even this week, lacking $202,000 to finish those teacher houses, something that will be our testimony to that community, a testimony of friendship, a testimony of honesty, integrity. And this week, when I had to say there's no more money, someone made a phone call to me and said, I will donate $200,000 to you. And I was able to call Malawi and to say, it's done. It is done. So it is finished, and it is going to be finished. And it is to the character of a community that says, we keep coming back to people that are on the other side of the world. Why? Why? It's because we absolutely can. Because that is who we are. That is who I am. And I am the pastor that goes globally for you. And I do it with but I struggle. I struggle with that place of what am I doing so deep in it? But God said, I'm going to show you some things. I want to show you healing. I want to show you transformation. I want to show you an awakening of the church. And if you will be and go in those places, I will take you and I will show you, look, the trees, the desert will become productive. And places that had no life will be life. And just because there isn't a river there today, there will be a river there tomorrow. Right? I don't know. We got to walk it back. But the question over there is, what are you going to give your energy to? Are you going to flail in a river that you cannot swim in? Are you going to miss seeing and knowing and seeing the tangible, the concrete, the audible voice of God? Because I'll tell you, the way I'm experiencing God in the last year is this. The veil between heaven and earth is thin. It's thinner now than it ever was. I don't know why. I don't have to know why, But I just know that I hear the voice of God and He directs me. And that is not for people just 65 years old. These people in the front row, we call them our staff, and the people in the back are unrecognizable. There has work that has been done. and they have met God. Because at staff retreat, somebody raised the question, Pastor, do you think we're dull? Well, that was an odd question. I would rather have, do you think I'm beautiful? But he said, do you think we're dull? And Earl said, we want to make some improvement there. They took it on themselves to get strong, powerful. The evidence of that, Pastor Joe, all of the pastors, is when you get on this and you lead us, your words lead us deep into the presence of God. And the worship team, it is undeniable something is happening to us. And if you want to be a part of that, God bless you. If you don't want to be a part of that, welcome to missing out. Missing out. Just miss out if you want to. You got the freedom to do it. And I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here lapping it up because I'm going to be able to see the big turnaround. The turnaround and not turn over and just die. But it all started. That was at the end of the thing when all the things were happening, that where the river flows, everything is going to live. And I've seen firsthand everything that's happening in Malawi. I want you to watch this video.
Aliense. This is the Chichewa word for everyone. This was not just a word that became a mantra, but this is hopefully a seed that is going to birth a new future. That the village of Chiliza will forever look different because everyone came together. Because this has been our commitment that we are stronger when we are together because everyone has a voice. See, there's a beautiful thing that happens when we come to the village. There's singing and there's dancing, there's energy. The voices are so compelling. And that was our belief that there are voices that needed to be unleashed, and that's why we came. See, there was a declaration that everyone has to share the weight. This is a belief that we're stronger when there is equal responsibility, that it does not fall simply on one person's shoulder, but the future of the village, the future of the hope that's waiting to be unleashed falls on everyone. That the young kids learning in this school will be a marker that the future is always full of hope. That everyone is exactly in the place that they were created to be, that this is our moment, this is our time. The future does not wait. The future is created by those that come together as everyone. Aliense.
I know you don't exactly know what you're seeing, but let me just tell you what you just saw is a college camp. And it was 4 grades, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, because Ann was leading that time with the students. So we took our students from Chiliza Village, 1,200 of them total, but just the 4th through 8th grade, because they're dropping out after 4th, after 5th, after 6th, 7th grade, having to work in the fields. They're hungry. And so they drop out and they don't get to go to high school because of this. And so we're cutting that off right now. We're saying, we're rejecting that. We reject that. And we're saying, no, we're giving them imagination for a different future. And so we took them onto a college campus. Some of them had never been out of the village. Some of them had never been on a bus. Some had never been in any place else. And they got to see for the first time, you know what really enamored them was the fact that there were beds in the dorm. They don't sleep on beds. And that there were mirrors and a shower. Blew their minds, and that's nothing to us, right, because we're rich. But to them, it was life transformation happening right before us. And they spent the whole day competing in different red, blue, black group. And there were hundreds of them, and we just championed them on. And the students that work with us, the 19 interns from that college, they were just translating everything and being the cheerleaders. It was such a powerful day. I wanted to graduate, to go on to secondary school and go to college. And because, to see those kids go to their first library, pick up a book they couldn't read, but they are learning English, to have conversations for the first time with the students in English. Things are changing. And we could walk away after year 9, but we're committed to those group of people to say, we love you, and we are moving. So our identity is shaped being in that village. And even in our church, Aliense means everyone. We just went through that series, and we just took it there. Fresh Voices. We just took it there. We just took everything that we had and we just took it there. But I'll tell you, there's an opposite side to seeing progress and seeing that our energy is going to go to something very valuable, even though it's far away. It's this. It says in this vision in chapter 47, it says, the man brought me back to the entrance of the temple, and there was all this water leaking out from the temple. And it was all directional, and we're not good at directions. It was east and the south and the north. But just to note that there was a lot of leaking happening in the temple at the beginning. And Erwin would say, just go call the plumber. We don't exactly understand, but we get it that it became something, right? And this water that started from the presence of God's throne was coming out, and it was a story for all of Israel. It was God's dream for our life. And what started as a trickle, it says in verse 3, and as the man went eastward, this is the angel, went eastward with a measuring line in his hand, he measured off 1,000 cubits, which is 1,700 feet. And he measured off, and then he led me, after he measured off 1,700 feet, he measured, and then he led me through water that was ankle deep. So this stage is like 45 feet wide. And then if the temple was way over down La Brea, then 1,700 feet, I came to the source. And it wasn't actually the source, but it was where it was getting deeper, and it was ankle deep here. And as shallow as it was Ezekiel's puddle. And he was definitely to go forward. You know where he ended up, but right here, this is where it all started, where the angel of the Lord led him to the shallow places. And I don't know if you're a shallow human being. To stand in this place is to say, I will enjoy my atrophy. Thank you. I will just be so stuck in the inertia, I will not change. And shallow people are shallow emotionally, they're shallow physically, and they will not learn. And I don't know, men, women do not want to see men in kiddie pools with those floaties on, holding their mother's hand. And mommies, let them go, because women aren't attracted to that. Except, you know who's attracted to that? Shallow women. Shallow women can see through just about anything. I'll take anything, I take anybody. And the desperation just makes you more shallow, right? And so we're not staying here. This is not your future. We all come to a place where we're paralyzed. I have a house falling down around me. It's 100 years old. And when it turned 100, it basically said I quit. So every day, something else falls off. I did say, I'm not kidding. I promise you, I'm not kidding. This is verified. I said the other day, Lord, if you just send an earthquake, it would just all come down and the insurance would have to pay for it. And an hour and a half later, we had that earthquake. I got my stuff and got out of there. I said, the rest of it's coming down. Hallelujah. But then I thought that wasn't right for the other people. So I just stopped praying that prayer, but I was shaking on the inside. I was shaking because I was like, God is listening. God is listening to me. He's listening to my nonsense. And he'll let you stay in that puddle of shallow thinking and shallow theology and shallow, until you're sick of yourself and you're sick of your sweat right there. Because that's not where you're supposed to stay. You're supposed to go the next distance. And like the avoidance of life's issues are just going to paralyze you further. And to where risk becomes the enemy, right? But we have to get out of that pool and we have to walk further. And it says, and then the angel of the Lord led Ezekiel 1,700 more feet to water that was knee deep. Knee deep. We're making progress. Obviously, that's not 1,700 feet. We're making that's a long walk, folks, to a different depth. I mean, how wide was it? In the desert, you don't have rivers. So what you had a pool right there, you might have a creek right here. And that's language I speak. I'm very comfortable right here. You know, it's cool. It cools me off, but I don't have no commitment. But then it's right here that you become a shifter, because God wants to pull you forward. And this shifting thing that you do, because the sand is like unstable beneath you, is like you make progress and you make a commitment. Hey, I'll be there. I'm good. Then you don't show. And then you go back. And you could move backward just as easily as you could move forward. And the shifting of saying, yes, I'm going, no, I'm not, no, yes, stop, start, quit, then you're gone. You disappear. From whatever spiritual landscape, whatever Bible study, whatever thing you've got going spiritually, I'll tell you that is a very dangerous place, the shifting that you have going when the water is so knee deep. When you were back there, your life was very consumptive. Here, your life is transactional. You want to know, what's it going to cost me? God, what's it going to cost me? And if I give you what you want, will you give me what I want? Aren't we ridiculous? We are human beings. He is God Almighty. We are humans, and He is God. And so we're not making a transaction here. He goes, I want you. I want you. I want you to know I love you. I want you to know, Roy, that you are the one, that I got my eye on you. I know your business. And you want to stay here. Yeah, and she knows it too, evidently. But you want to stay here in this? You are free to do that. But I'm calling you out further than you've ever been. Are you willing to do it? And the willingness, yes. It's not transactional between you and God. He will always give you more than you ask for. He will always be merciful and give you the desires of your I sort of say wicked, but that's not positive, isn't it? Positivity is so overrated. Your wicked hearts. But we have these entrenched patterns that we keep going back. We keep going back to, thinking that we go back from, something's going to change. It never changes until we take mastery over our own movement. Then that creates momentum. It's cricket. My trainer that I fired. I can hear you. I can hear your thoughts. You should have never done that, Kim. But she said, run the mile before we would start working out. I said, I'm not going to run that mile before on the treadmill. I don't run the treadmill. I can turn it on. I can walk a bit. She said, take your hands off the bars and start running 1 mile before we work out. And, I remember laughing at her, thinking, that's ridiculous. She's ridiculous. And then I actually took the plunge and started running. I got to 1/4 mile, but when I hit that 1 mile without stopping that treadmill, I had a new thought. I said, I think I could run a marathon. Oh my God. What's worse? I did this talk in Africa, and the pastor came up to me and said, how is that going on the treadmill? It's not. It's going very, very well. But the needy place, I just want to say this. It's in the daily disciplines, really. That's where it's all worked out. We don't like to say that because you're artists, and that's like, we hate that word discipline. But the daily disciplines, as I've learned to know them, and I got comfortable with what my daily part was, is just getting up, because I wake up and I just go there. And I go there first, and I go there unashamedly, and I'm just listening. I'm quietly listening to what God wants to say to me. And I'm worshiping, I'm worshiping deeply. And I'm wondering, where should I go from here? And then when I get up and do my stuff, there is a director that directs my path. It's like something inside of me that says, now do this. Now call this person. Now this person. Now this person. Make this contact and then this contact. And $200,000 later. It's just obedience. It's just like that quiet obedience. God doesn't I'm not trying to announce things. I'm just a reporter of the glory of God. And that's what you are too, just a reporter of the glory of God. That the miracle territory that we all live in must be reported so that you can believe in the hopelessness that you're sitting in is that, it can happen to her, it can happen to me. That I can't overcome this. If she can overcome her stuff, then I can overcome my stuff. And that this is what the angel of the Lord did and said, you don't belong in the shallow, and you don't belong in the knee deep. But if you would just face the fact that you got some decisions to make and some disciplines to engage in. We have this word, inditsa. And it was on all the notebooks for all the kids coming to camp. And it means this. It means, I will do this in order to get to this place. I will do this. I will engage in making some decisions that if it just like shifted a bit, then back here with my over focus on my own self-preservation would be worked out over there. My own sense, my fixation on my mental health would be worked out over there spiritually. And my over imagination of doom and gloom and my over inadequate counseling and however you're getting your information that isn't helping you, it's keeping you back there. And it can just take a few steps forward and you will realize it's your inditsa. It's that confession that you're making. One girl came up and she said, handed me a piece of paper and it said, I will heal. I will heal. You think, well, that's not up to you, honey. It is up to her. She's doing the work of healing. I said, and I told her, I said, and that work that you're doing, don't announce it. Don't announce it like you're the victim and I need to show you my brokenness. I said, when the healing comes, report that and report back because you will heal. One guy, one of the fresh voices up there, she's been with us for many years. You've been sending her through college. She handed me a piece of paper and says, I will lead like it is my duty. Nobody's paying her to lead. Nobody's doing it. She's taking it on. This is the calling of God on my life. And she is moving, literally, I see it before my eyes. She is moving out of poverty into the next depth. That's what's happening. It's a decision that you make that says, I will not stay the same. I will not be entrenched. I will not have the patterns of my past. I had to break those patterns too. Every one of these people on the front row had to break those patterns, and we had to speak with a different language. We had to speak with different words. We had to declare things that were biblical, that God would be your strength. He would help you mount the wall and go over it, that He will never leave you or forsake you, that He would love you eternally, that He would be with you. And my spirit in Africa, I said this. I said, I know that God will never leave me, because He whispered that in my ear. Kim, you struggle with the presence, my presence, and you think it's the emotion of connection that when I show up, you'll feel it. But no, it's going to be better than that. I will promise you I will never leave you. I promise you I will always be speaking in your ear, and I will tell you which way to go. And that isn't just for the spiritual elite or special people or the people that have been here for 17,000 decades. It is for people that are us, and until the community of God starts hearing the voice of God, we are lost in our own sweat. I know I talk a lot, and you're exhausted. I talk a lot. I talk fast, but I don't want to miss the moment because it's not over, right? What decisions? How are you going to use your energy? Who are you? Who are you for this moment? It's a new era in the world. I don't know if you know spiritually it's a new era, but God is ushering in. It's a thin veil between heaven and earth. I sense it. And other people I talk to, they sense it too. They sense that darkness is coming out and being exposed into the light, and that goodness as well. It says this: He measured off another 1,700 feet, and He led me through water that was up to the waist. It was waist deep. And it's in the waist deep waters. And the waist deep waters that it is about forces, it is about currents. And you can't control either of those. You can't control what's underneath, pulling at you, tugging at you. And I feel like I meet people all the time that are stuck way back there, and they say, for my mental health, I take 6 baths a day. I said, that's excessive. That's a little excessive. and I like being clean, but girl, you gotta, it's more than that. And they get to this place and they realize, hey, I just have to be resolved in my way is not making it. And I'm going to give my way to good forces. That yes, in the unseen I cannot see, but God is directing my path. Because remember, He is a strong tower in which I run to, and He covers me safe from danger. And I run to, He's my Redeemer. He is our destination. And then when I get to that place where I'm like being influenced by different forces, even if it's relational forces that are trying to make you do things that you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be involved in that. Or you shouldn't take that job because you know it doesn't line up. We take jobs all the time that we like, oh, I just like rationalize that decision. And then you're stuck way back here again, years off of your life, because the decision you knew that you shouldn't make, you made it anyway, and you just rationalized it. You know what? It's always about the money, always about the money, always about the money. And it's never about the money. It is not the currency of God. He will match your faith. He will match your dedication and your integrity, right? So we stay here. And though the waist deep is like, it's mysterious. It's a place where you can't see the unknown. But I'll tell you, if you trust God with everything that you are and everything that you have, then you trust Him for everything it could happen. Everything that He could give you. You just trust Him. You hunker down and you say, today, it's the first declaration, today, I get out of this bed, I'm going to trust you, God. I'm going to trust you, God. I'm not going to trust my hustle. I'm not going to trust my mouth. I'm not going to trust the internet. I am going to trust you. My words are going to you. And He says in Proverbs 18, your words are a deep well. And it's like a spring of water overflowing. Your words are powerful. Your declarations to Him are powerful. He trusts what you're going to say, right? And you have to trust what He says back, right? And that's being in this pull of a current. And there's currents, all kinds of currents that's going to lead you down dead ways. Nobody wants to be in a riptide, right? Because there's forces out there that really want your destruction, and I don't think we understand that, but we're being counseled by the evil one who would tear you and ruin your life. And we get in that current, and we don't even, before we know it, our head is underwater. And then he said this beautiful thing. He says, He led me, and this is verse 5. He measured off another 1,700 feet, but now it was a what? It's a river. It's a freaking river that I could not cross because the water had risen and it was deep enough to swim in, and nobody in the desert knows how to swim, and a river that no one could cross. And then he asked me, Son of man, do you see this? So the knowing is palatable and tangible. There's clarity, there's connection, there's miracles. I mean, that deep water is part miracle, but it's also part stewardship of your skill and your tenacity and your brilliance. And God honors all of that. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And I want to tell you this as we close. I want to tell you this story about Musa. And I've mentioned him before, but now the whole story is different. Musa, just put him up there. Who am I? I don't know. At the end of this talk, I really don't know. Here we go. This is about 30 minutes from where our village is. This is Zalika refugee camp. That is Musa Linda. We love him. We've known him. He was one of our college students last year. This is where he lives in this refugee camp. He's not Malawian, he's Congolese. And when he, if you remember the story, Musa, he is such a great dresser. He always kills it. He's a very happy guy. He speaks 7 languages. He's brilliant. And Musa, he lives in this refugee camp because that's the law, that if you cross the borders into Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world, that you have to live in a refugee camp. He he was away in the bush while the Mai-Mai's tribal group came in and killed his mom and dad. And when he ran, because the neighbors said, they're coming for you as well, Musa, because they want your land. And so he had to run, and he spent weeks running to Tanzania and then to Malawi. And it was here in Malawi that he ended up in this refugee camp. And anyway, it didn't stop him. He's unstoppable. He sleeps in a closet with 2 other men because that's the space allotted him. This was built for 10,000 refugees, and it has 52,000 occupants. With the UN, that's where he lives, right there behind that curtain, and the UN gives him $10 to buy bread every month. And that's his income, and everybody else hustles. But he wants to show you his degrees and all of his awards. That's very important because it's the only tangible thing he has left. And so this year he graduated with a Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies. And I had a meeting yesterday. I had a meeting with the team, the Welcome team from Refuge, our ministry here at Mosaic. We're working with Welcome Corps and the UNHCR to bring Musa to America, and he'll be one of us, right? And the story is so important because it was, if you know David Yanis, give a shout out to David Yanis. David Yanis was on our team. He went to this refugee camp. It was very dangerous. He almost got attacked. He came back shaken up, but I mean, shook up, shaken, whatever. He came back, and it was really difficult for him to see how bad it was for Musa because he really liked Musa. But he came with this video to tell the story of his life so that we could see it, we could touch it, and we could say, you know, I want that as him as my friend, and I want to be a part of his future. And the beautiful thing that in tears are powerful, and God sees your tears, but tears won't do anything if there's not action behind them. And I said, the reason that Musa's not with us is because we don't have a place for him to live. It's very difficult in LA. And in just a heartbeat, he said, he can live with us, my family and I. And I said, but you better go call your family before you commit that. And he went and called, and he came back, and he said, they said that Musa could live with us for 6 months. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful because it tells me who you are. It tells me who I am. The only way that we will really ever understand ourselves in the deep water is we help somebody else learn to swim. That we help them out of danger, that we care for them, that we love them. And if we would back there get our eyes off of our own self-preservation and just realize the neighbor beside us are struggling to survive, when that happens, your healing will come. Your healing will come. Your healing will come. And I just want you to know that just that the destination of where you're going and who you are and all the questions in between, it will change over time. But step into the love that God has for you and step into being fully loved and fully known and the path marked out for you. And we invited all these chiefs to come and to a development experience. They all came. We washed their feet at the end. They were blown away that we would do something so refreshing to them. But Jesus said, take the towel. He said, take the towel and go wash somebody's feet. And you do it because I did it to you. And they deserve, it's something so human. But you know what? We're so arrogant to say that other people's feet are too dirty for me. And so one day we realized that when we were washing their feet, that they were dirty feet, and we need to get them clean. It was like a challenge. Get in there and get them clean. Who cares if you're uncomfortable? You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. It's the experience Jesus modeled for us. It'll be a different world when you model it for somebody else. And so I just want to, just bring you, come to that line of faith and say, Jesus, I want to live the life you lived. I want to live it in the deep. I want to see the trees bear fruit. I want to see there be plenty. I want to see the river flowing. I don't care how deep it gets for me. I don't care how dangerous it is. I want to be in that experience with you. I don't want to die already dead. I want to live, and you live when you serve people. You live when you give your life away. You live when you invite people into your space. It is the gospel. It is the truth of the gospel. It is no other way. When this and I promise you I'm almost done. They're worn out. They are so worn out back here. I'm done. Now, what are you going to be doing? You know what you're going to do? You're going to say yes to Jesus. When we went to those, we like, okay, we can wash your feet. We could give you a gift. We could give you a notebook. That'd be great. But we said, this is the truth of Jesus. This is the truth, chiefs. 114 of them. Most raised their hand to know Jesus because they had seen our commitment. They had seen the product before we asked them to accept a guy who was invisible. We addressed their poverty and their hunger and their lack of education, and that this is what the church was really meant to do. And then we said, and this is a Savior who did it all through us. And they said yes. And maybe that's where you are. Wherever you are, Jesus says yes to you. I will be. And just come to that line of faith and say yes. And I said, if we really believe that, if we really believe those chiefs came to Jesus, and I went around the table and I said, you believe it? You believe it? You believe it? You believe it? And it put us in a different space because we were like really shallow in our belief. But I said, I'm going to believe it. I'm going to believe that the territory of Malawi has been changed, has been altered, because those men were in the room with the Spirit of God through us. And Jesus said, and when I will take and I will make a living river through you. And that was the Holy Spirit, the presence of God inside of you, being the reporter to the glory of God. And that it happens only when you serve. And I just ask for you to come to the line of faith and give your life and just say, Jesus, from this moment on, I want to live in the deep. I'm on a journey, and we all are, but I want the destination to be you. I run to you. If you're willing to do that, bow your heads. Just bow your heads and close your eyes and just imagine the shift, the change, and the transformation. And it all happens with one prayer. Jesus, I give you my life. Jesus, I give you my life. I give you my life. Pray that prayer. And if you pray that prayer, raise your hand to say, I am it. I am the one. I'm the one called out. I'm the one going in. I'm the one. I'm the one that will make the change. I'm the one that will make the shift. And be prepared to be baptized into a holy river. Be prepared. Because this is serious stuff. Spiritual is spiritual. It is Jesus for Jesus' sake. And give it all you have. And just, it's any time you can raise your hand. Pastor Joe, you come, and you explain this mess. Because, look, I love you. Thank you for listening. God bless you. God bless you.
Hey, stay with us for a few more moments, because these are the moments that matter. First and foremost, let's take a moment and thank our pastor, Pastor Kim McManus. I don't know what has happened to you, but thank you. Thank you for never letting us settle. You can't have been in this room and been open to what God had to say and not been impacted by that message. And just seeing hands all across the room. This moment right here is so essential, because this is where we get to activate the good things that God has put inside of us. We get to step into not just being an observer, but being a participant. So if you're here and you made a choice to follow Jesus, you crossed over the line of faith from the shallow water into the deep waters, we have a gift for you. That's a Bible. And it's this book that's filled with incredible women and men like you and I, trying to get closer to Jesus, trying to make sense of life, and doing it in the context of community. And so we want to help you now that you're walking with Jesus. And so when you walk out that back doors, you'll see our team holding up these Bibles. There's a whole section. Grab one, and then come on Wednesday night to Bible study, because it's just a great way to begin this new journey of faith. Okay, we got one last thing to do. I'm going to invite our team to come forward, and we're going to give together. Because, and you can come forward. Band, you guys come on stage too. Worship team, come on stage, come on. Because in this moment, this is where we begin to put into practice, not just talking about it, but being about it. Like, one of the most profound things that Pastor Kim said that affected me
in this talk that I'm gonna just plant in my soul. And she said, tears don't mean anything if there's no action behind them. That one little nugget alone was worth that message. And that is what happens when we give together. It's that we make sure that it's not just an emotional response. We make sure that we're not just like giving because it's what you're supposed to do in church. No, the reason we give together through the buckets when they're gonna go by or through our online and through the QR code, because when we pool our sacrifice, when we pool our resources, when we trust God with everything, it's us saying that the tears will not be wasted. It's us saying that the Musas of the world find value and they find meaning and they find a future, not through magic, but through sacrifice, through intention. And there are so many things that we want to do as a church. There are so many more dreams that we have. Today in Mexico City, we went from one gathering in one location to 3 gatherings in 3 locations. And I don't know if you could feel it, Mosaic. The future is waiting for us. And it just is a question of, do we have the courage to elevate our faith, to elevate our sacrifice? Who are the Musas of the world that are ready to find the love of Jesus on the other side of our gifts? So if you're here and you want to join with us with your tithe, with your offerings, with the sacrifices, then you could join with us by giving today as the buckets go by. You can go ahead and pass the buckets. And then again, scan that QR code, give this week. Maybe you're here and you're like that person who gave $200,000 to finish that project in Malawi. If that's you and you've just got $200K chilling, come and talk to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you about all the good in the world that we could do together. But we're just going to take a moment and let the buckets go.